Morning, everybody. We will get started shortly as everyone comes in. Oh, good morning. Sorry, it would help if my headphones were in close to my mouth. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Pamela, I love watching you in your kitchen. It's good. When I first started working with Eric, there's this one lady on a call who I don't know if she just forgot she was on video or what, but she changed her clothes in the background. And we were like, whoa! And Eric could it distracted everybody on the call. It's only happened once though in all of the calls that I've been around for. She didn't completely change her clothes either. She just went down to like what would have been a bikini in other places. I just have to close some tabs on my computer and then we can get started. If you guys all saw my browser right now, there's like 40 tabs open. How is everybody? How are your holidays?
Awesome. I'll unmute and say hi.
Oh, there you go. Hi. How are your holidays?
They were awesome. My daughter was home from college and I loved it.
Oh, that's so nice. How old is your daughter?
21. My baby.
Your baby. Oh, I don't want to hear that.
My boy is 23.
Oh, that's good. Are they both out of the house now? Like both in college somewhere, not at home?
My son still lives here at home.
Ah, okay.
That's why I needed a WildFit career. I had nothing else to do.
Yeah, I'm not, my kids are 11 and 14, but it feels very, very close to them no longer being at home. I think it goes really fast. That's what everyone says. Don't worry, it gets faster the longer you go. So good stuff. Ingrid, I wish I could read that little cartoon that is your picture right now, but I can't. It's too small. Good morning, Numi. Oh, 10 days with your grandson. Oh, so good. Yeah, I had my family in my house the whole time. It was wonderful when they left. Yeah, no, it was really good having them, and it was really nice when we had our house back to ourselves. All right. Okay, guys. Reetva, it's good to see. It's good to see a lot of people. Emily, hi. Catherine, hi. Emily, is this your first call in the mastermind?
No, I did the last one when we did the breakout.
That's what I was thinking. I feel like that was more normal. Petra, I was looking, you did like 8 exams in December, didn't you? There was a lot of exams that people did.
There were 8 exams completed in December, so well done, everybody.
Yeah, very good. Good.
I just started my first class on Monday.
Oh, yay. How's it going?
Yeah. It's good. I have 12 people in it. And yeah, we had our first check-in call and I was like, oh, yay. You know, it went pretty good. So I just sent that over to Petra. And then we have our second call tonight. And I work with a lot of the people that are in it. So we have a lot of discussions here in the office. So yeah, it's fun. Everybody so far is just like, it's buzzing right now here at work. And everyone's like, okay, why didn't I know this before? Why hasn't anybody talked to me like this before? So yeah, it's going to be really cool.
Oh, that's great. Are they mostly your staff, or do you have is it like massage therapists and other people as well?
Yeah, so there's 12 in the class. So there's 2 yoga therapists. There's a massage therapist, two of my other chiropractic doctors that work for me, one neighborhood friend, one friend from California, and then another girl that she's a coach as well, but for more like business consulting. And so I had asked her to join to help me out with like the coaching and the speaking and the personal aspect of it. So, and she also could use it personally. Her and I have a very similar path. We're both like single girls in our 40s, like very career driven. And so she's going to give me a lot of insight into just the coaching aspect, the relatability part. So that's what she does for a profession. And I think that's everybody. Yeah.
That's great. Do you have, one thing that'll show up in your office is people slim down, look healthier, because you're probably already a fairly health-centric office to start with, but as people do slim down, you'll have lots of opportunities with clients to talk about why.
Oh,
like,
without a doubt. One of the docs that's doing it with me, she's a functional medicine chiropractor. And one of her biggest complaints is people sticking with her recommendations. So, compliance. And for her personally, she has some weight issues of her own, and she's always working on that. Same with me. I'm a healthcare professional, but I struggle personally. So she's going to make changes for herself personally, which makes her more relatable. And then before she puts people on these strict regimented programs to really improve their health, the first thing they have to do is get the fundamentals. They have to change their habits. They have to change their lifestyle. They have to get a grip on their food before it's like, well, don't do this, don't do that, add this in. And so she already sees the value in it, just watching me go through it. And then now that she's in the class, she's given some really good insight, and she's like 100% in. She posted her pictures, in her workout clothes, no shirt on, on right into our Facebook group, and she's being very vulnerable. And we work with these women, right? Like, so you do have to put yourself out there a bit and be a little vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. And this all started only on Monday?
Yeah.
And they're already popping like that.
I did the Wild Fit challenge through Mind Valley starting in August. So I listen to a lot of these calls while I sit here and do paperwork. And so they kind of like hear what's going on, and they've watched a bit, and then I get overly excited about things. And so this isn't like fresh and new for everybody. It's fresh and new for them to go through the whole program, but to hear the day-to-day, but they know a lot of the concept that's happening. And again, she's a functional med doctor, so she knows things that I couldn't even dream of knowing. I'm physical med, she's internal med, so she knows the nutrition side.
Yeah, and that's nice to have for people to really understand that nutrition side. I know one thing we do at the office when especially when we first started, it's not so common now, because I had an office before I started working with Eric. So we weren't all health nuts before.
Sure.
Now we've either the non-health nuts have either quit or left in one way or the other. And then we tend to hire people that are more already health oriented. But one of the things that's really nice about being in an office is people, like, you can bring snacks in and share, and we always have veggies, and there's, even our functions the food is way more Wild Fit approved because we all eat that way anyway.
Yeah.
So there's a few.
Our staff meetings aren't like bagels, because everyone is gluten-free here, but that doesn't mean that the things that are coming in are necessarily Wild Fit. We get gluten-free muffins and stuff, but I know that those things will start shifting and changing as more and more of the staff get on board with Wild Fit. Because some people didn't join. I gave it an opportunity to everybody in our staff, and some people didn't do it yet. And you can already tell, like 4 days in, that they're like, dang it. I said, next time, you'll just wait until next time. It's okay. Because they're like, oh, I'm doing Whole30. And I'm like, cool, do Whole30. That's awesome.
Go for it.
Yep. We'll see what happens on day 31. That's the true test of a program.
It's true. What happens 3 years later? Yeah. Right. I know when I started Wild Fit, I was like consistently gaining 5, 6, 7 pounds a year, just enough that every other year I'd have to go up a pant size and stuff. I dropped like 15 pounds and haven't gained one back. So and that was
Yeah,
3,
that's
4.
that's
It was a long
incredible.
time ago now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
Cool.
good. Good, good. All right, guys, let's get going. I'm going to start the recording.
A size 8.
Oh, hey, Catherine. I cannot start the recording. And the admin is not on this morning. Hang on one second. I'm going to send a message and we can keep chatting because I'm not sure why I can't start the recording. Just one second.
You want me to record it and send it to you?
I don't think you can.
I've got a record button. I don't know why.
Yeah, everybody, when you hit it though, it says ask for admin.
Wait, actually, it is recording.
Oh, it is recording. We're good. Okay, then. We're good. You're right. Thank you. Thanks, Catherine. We're good. All right, I have a few updates. We'll get going. Thanks, Reet, for put it in there too. Recording is on. Let's go. Hi, Laura. It's good to see faces I know, and then some of you that I'll get to know better. We start next week a BFSA, a speaking academy, on Tuesday next week. So everyone's buzzing around in the office getting ready for that. Live event will be off. A lot of us, not the Wild Fit team so much, but Eric and I will be both at the academy for Tuesday through Saturday. Long days. I'm leading a team, so I'm told that Kelsey keeps teasing me. She's like, oh, they're like 18-hour days. You can have a nap and don't plan on working out. And while the rest of us are at the spa, you're going to be leading. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think it'll take that long. So good, good. So I have a few updates for you. I know Tim, do we have Speaking Academy dates for MVU? They are down to 2 options within 2 days of each other. So I can give you those if you want. Like it's like they'll either start on this day or that day, and they're right beside each other, and then end one day right beside each other. So if that helps, we can do that.
That would be really helpful, because at the moment there are 2 or 3 of us waiting to book flights and accommodation.
Yeah, here, let me just write that.
That would be really useful.
I'm going to write Kelsey to send them to you. I'm not allowed to send. So for someone... and you're laughing, but I have learned for some reason I am calendar challenged. Like if I get involved in the calendar, there are mistakes. So I don't say anything ever about dates. I will have, I try not to. So I'll have Kelsey send them to you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, me too. Catherine Potter. I'm also going for my
Yeah,
belly.
you were going to come to Calgary, right? And then now you're going to go to Croatia.
Yeah, I'm going to Croatia instead. I'm trying to get geared up to do my next challenge on the 21st. If I wouldn't be able to market it at all if I was, it's like, it was just too much.
I get it. I was really looking forward to having you in Calgary. And I'm not sure if I will be in Croatia after the Speaking Academy. I don't know if I'll be there to lead it.
Oh.
So, all good. I'll see you though when
Is it definitely going to be before MVU starts?
It's before MVU, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be a couple of days before, and I'll be there for MVU, but the way my kids' calendar and schedule and school, we're still working out all those details. Man, it's a lot of work to fly a bunch of people around the world all the time. So good stuff. All right, so we have a few updates for you, that things we've been testing the last 2 or 3 months, and I finally have updates. I know I've seen some questions and queries in the Facebook group, and I have some great news. How many of you are doing Back to Spring with us? I see a couple hands go up. I'm doing it. How many of you this time, this is the first season ever, but like I overate at Christmas. Anyone else do that? It's the first time in a long time I feel like I overindulged. I was like, I'm going to have to join that Back to Spring group because I need to. So that program is off with a bang. We've already had some really good feedback from people on it. And I believe we're going to run it once a quarter. And I really highly, we are going to turn it into a program very similar to Wild Fit 90, like where you can run people, put them in it. We'll film videos once we have the syntax. This first group done live, Eric has he has a syntax of what he'd like to do. So once we've gone through this first group, we'll poll everyone and get some feedback, find out what we did really well, what could be done better. And then he will go to the studio and record videos, and we'll turn it into a program that you all can use as a continuation program with your clients. So whether you want to do it once a month or once a quarter, once a year, once every 6 months, that'll be totally up to you. And I believe we'll have that done by the end of June, because once we finish this group, which will be the first week of February, then we have to go through, look at the feedback, then go through recording videos, turning it into a program, adding in supplementary materials, whatever we didn't do this time. So that's the plan for Back to Spring. and how we'll run it. The other thing is, if you guys don't want to run back to spring yourselves and you don't want to coach it, if you have clients that you've put into Wild Fit 90 Challenge, then if they join back to spring, you get the commission on it. So, you know, it's up to you whether you just want to make money off of it or you want to run it. You'll have that flexibility as soon as we get it turned into a program that everyone can use. So far we've had some good feedback and we're only a couple of days in. And I think lots of people are happy with it so far. So we'll get to the end of it and see how that goes. I think the other very exciting news that many of you are probably wondering about is the 2-week challenge test that we did in December. And so what we basically did was invited people who had never done Wild Fit before. We did not cold market to them. They were on some sort of a list that we had gathered, but they'd never done Wild Fit. So they'd opted in somewhere, email only. So we sent 4 emails to them, invited them to the 2-week challenge. We had 80-ish people join. I won't tell you the exact number, it was 81 or 82. But about 80 people joined that 2-week food reset is what we called it. I'm not sure we're going to keep that name, but we'll keep the format of it. So the 2-week reset, they joined, they went through the 2 weeks with some coaching from Eric and Petra, right? Was it Petra you were in there, and who else?
Jorgen and me, yes.
Yeah, you and Jorgen were in there, right? And 10 of them decided to continue on with the full challenge. So it was a nice, that is from like online marketing numbers, those are really nice numbers. And the feedback forms, which we had last time I looked, and there's probably more in there now, but 33 people came back and gave us feedback on what that 2 weeks did for them. And I got to tell you, I was nervous. Like there was a couple of us that were nervous. Like, can you really have an impact on people in 2 weeks? And I'm sure some of you thought this, but like, what if they gain weight and then they're ticked off at us at the end of the 2 weeks? Like it was a little bit risky, which is why we did it in a small contained group, where if it had been a big failure, it wouldn't have left that big of a crater. Like, you know, we knew that's what it was, a test, and it was a risky one. However, the feedback was really positive. Like, first of all, 33 out of 88 giving us or 81 or 82, that many people giving feedback is a really high feedback number. Like we don't usually get that kind of feedback from people in terms of percentages. And a lot of it was, thank you, I will never look at food the same way. Like all the things that Emily was just saying is that are happening in her office right now happened in that group in the 2 week. So we're definitely going to go forward with turning this into a program. I think we're going to make some changes to the actual 2 week, like create it as a funnel for you guys. So there's some tweaks and stuff that need to be within that 2 weeks, because we just use the regular program in the interest of seeing if it would work. And so we're going to make those changes, turn it into a program, and then it'll be for all of you to use as, whether you're at like a trade show and you want to offer it to somebody as, hey, if you just want to get started, here's something we could do for 2 weeks. You can run them live, you can run them not live. So what I mean by that is, if you want to run a 2 week challenge, like the first 2 weeks of February, and let a whole bunch of people know about it, you could do it that way. The other way we'll make it work is that if you just want to start people on any given Monday, you can. And then whether you check in with them one-on-one or the program itself just checks in with them, that will be the option. So that's how that's working. So Pamela, we charged $27 for the 2 weeks, which is in online marketing. So I believe you could charge more if you were talking to someone face-to-face. Like if you were face-to-face with someone and you had more rapport with them, you probably could get more, like $59 or whatever you would like. We charged $27. And then at the end of it, we did video only, not the coached. Well, actually we did both. We gave them both options because we were testing video only and the coached. And we gave them a slight discount on, like we gave them a discount on that as well. So that will be up to you, which is about my next order of business in a second. I want to talk to you guys about the price of everything, but that's how that will work. How many of you were on the call with Eric yesterday on that Speaking with Confidence? There's, quite a few of you. Good stuff. So who has questions about the 2 week? I'm happy to answer them. It was way more of a success than I thought it would. Like, it was risky. It was a test, right? Who knows? Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So it went really well. Numi, go for it.
So it's more details about this 2 weeks. How often did the coaches meet, or how often did you go live, and did they watch the first 2 weeks of Eric's videos?
Yeah, so they watched the first 2 weeks of Eric's videos. We set up a separate portal for them to go in through because of tech and needing to have consistency. So in that 2 weeks, we also we were able to drop a couple of extra videos in. So mostly it was the same with just a few alterations, minimum viable product, like what could we do just to test it and see. And the coaches went live into the Facebook group 6 times. Petra, are you there? I might need to look right at the,
Yeah,
I believe it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, both weeks.
okay.
That's right.
So, and I just wrote in the chat there, will you send us, I didn't really get what you said about when the program is starting in early February, you said, right?
Oh, no, what I was saying is that once we've got this ready for you to use in your marketing efforts and for you to use with clients, there'll be 2 ways to run the 2-week challenge. One would be you run it as a 2-week challenge and you do a push to put a whole bunch of people in it at a really nominal price point, like $27 to $39, $49, somewhere in there, something that's so easy to say yes to. And you work with people for 2 weeks, and at the end of 2 weeks, you offer them a full, I actually see it working 2 ways for you guys as coaches. You could either offer them the full 90-day cycle with some coaching, or you could offer one-on-one coaching packages. You could offer a 6-month coaching package where they do the 90 days and then you keep working with them for 3 months after. There's a couple of options for how you want to structure your business after you get them in on that 2 weeks. But the point of the 2 weeks is for them to go, oh, wow, why didn't anyone tell me this before? And then realize how much they don't know. And they really do need not only WildFit, but they need you in your coaching. So option 1 will be you run a big group all at once. Option 2 will be the program itself can stand on its own and you can just put people in every Monday. It still runs on a Monday to Sunday because there's the buffer zone and all of that. So you could just start them on any Monday. So in that case, you wouldn't be running a group through. You might look and say, oh, I've got 3 people starting on Monday. So then there's no Facebook group and there's no there's no lump of them going through, but they just start at any time. In that case, you'd have to touch base with them more one-on-one as a coach, or just let the program do what it does and have them reach out to you. I don't think that will get you the same results though. Like what works part of with coaching in WildFit is the fact that we touch base with them.
But also I was thinking, what about the licenses then? How do we go about that? How do we go about, telling this is just a 2-week trial and
Yes, that's a great question. So that brings up, I know Eric mentioned this yesterday. He called me after and he goes, I might have mentioned something that we're working on the Speaking with Confidence call. So I think many of you can agree that, how many of you would agree if you could sell the challenge for less money, you would probably get more people in because sometimes price is a barrier. And then the next barrier is, well, then there's all these license fees. So we are going to move to a model, and we're working the details out right now, where it's just a flat rate for licenses and you can use them unlimited. So you can use unlimited licenses, put people in, which will address this 2-week thing because you'll just be able to contact us and put people into the 2-week program. And if they upgrade to the full program, that's great. There won't be a calculation of licenses. You'll be able to use it. And that will allow you to put more people in a class for less money and not only help more people, but also remove the barrier of cost being an issue with the challenge.
Okay, thank you.
Tim, go for it. I see your hand up, Tim.
Yeah, just is the 2-week thing designed that people would then go straight on to the program? In other words, effectively they join at the same time as other people join the program, or would they then restart the program at another time?
Oh, that's a good question. So we're going to make it either way. The way that what I know right now is what number of people joined right into week 3. So they did week 1 and 2, and then they upgraded to week 3. Right. And I believe there will be a group of people who do week 1 and 2, and then they sit and whiff a waffle for a while. And then they probably join later. And at that point, I believe the best thing is going to be to give them an option of, do you want to go straight to week 3 or do you want to go back to week 1? Yeah. And that's why we're going to alter taking the feedback. We are going to run this one more time in January because there's a few things we want to optimize and see if it goes better. And then after that, we're going to build, we are going to build a whole new first 2 weeks of the challenge just for this purpose, because there's a few, like, it's just tiny things. It's probably even things that most of you won't notice, but just a few changes so context is better for them. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, the first offer will be join week 3. And then we'll give you an additional funnel that goes out a couple weeks later that says, you know, have you been thinking about this? Do you want to get back in and come around the other way? The other thing is, keep in mind, when we run a test, we're testing to see what works within the messaging, because that's really our job. You as a coach are far more likely to have a personal relationship with some of these people, and therefore converting them will be even easier. And you can keep in touch with them. And, you know, if they do the 2 week and then you run into them at Bunko 2 weeks later, they're at least talking about it. You know, like, it's a much more low barrier way to get in and get people talking about WildFit and get them started overall.
Okay.
Catherine asked about the commission for people back to spring. Yes, Catherine, you'll get commission for that on the regular basis, because they'll be connected to your account. If they went through us, if they went through the 90-day, then they're automatically connected to you and you'll get commission for them. So if they paid in January, the commission goes out the end of February for January's commissions. Yeah, Petra, if they leave a break, it's good to repeat the first 2 weeks again. That's what we think. If it, like, not jump into week 3 if it's been 2 or 3 weeks since you started. So that's why we'll see that part. We haven't optimized and tested yet. Yeah, go for it, Pamela.
So were there live coach calls for that test, the 2 week test?
They were Facebook Lives. So people were in a Facebook group and then we Facebook Lived. So we didn't do like the Zoom calls and all of that. We went, what would be the easiest way to do this? So they just were Facebook Lives.
So that's why then you said there wasn't a private group? I didn't get that. There was not a private Facebook group?
There was a private Facebook group, yes. Oh. Yeah, that's why I said there'll be 2 ways you can run it. One is with the private Facebook group and the other is not with the private Facebook group, but they'll just go through the online portal part.
Well, I like the idea of a Facebook Live. You don't have to do the Zoom recording and then post it and repost it. And
yes,
wow.
And people ask their questions in the Facebook group and they, yeah, it is nice to do it that way. That's why we tested and started that way. It was the most straightforward to test and see how it worked.
Thanks.
I'm really excited about this for everybody because it allows a way for more people to hear about WildFit, for them to see the power of the first 2 weeks without making a 90-day commitment, and then really give you all a great platform with which to build huge coaching careers. So I'm excited about that. Does anyone have any other questions about the 2 weeks? No, we're good. Okay. The other thing I want to mention is that go for it, Catherine.
I just typed it in the chat. Because I have a guy that I'm trying to get into my 21 starting on the 21st. But I sent him the information and he watched all the videos I sent him, and then he went online and watched a bunch of other Eric's videos. And now he's like, well, I'm just going to try to do this on my own because the money is too much. You know, I just retired and all this, you know, and stuff. So I was just wondering if getting him into the 2 weeks might be a way to get him to like sign on the dotted line, because he's convinced that just watching the ones available on YouTube that he can, and looking, and he found like the WildFit cookbook or something that he can somehow do something. And I'm like, you know, I don't think that you're going to be able to do that. That you
sometimes failure is the best teacher. I'm saying, like, I know it's the power of the group, right? People don't understand until they've done it. I will talk to Angie when I'm back in the office this afternoon, and I believe the start date is the 21st of January for this 2 weeks, which is the same as when your challenge starts, right, Catherine?
Yeah, so that could be perfect because he could funnel into my challenge.
Absolutely.
I could talk to him and say, hey, there's this thing. You could do the first 2 weeks with that, and if you like it, then you can join mine.
Yep, 100%. And then he can, and just send him your link so that we know to connect it back to you, and then we'll make sure that he gets into your challenge if he does the first 2 weeks. And anyone's welcome to do this because it starts on January 21st. Mm-hmm. if I were you, I'd touch base with him a couple times personally throughout the 2 weeks. What are you noticing? How are you checking? You know, especially if you've got some time that you can give him a call.
Yeah. Okay. That might be a good way to get him reeled in.
Yeah, it's a very good way to just get them to like come towards. And I would, like I said, we were really pleased with the results overall. And now it's test and tweak one more time, and then we'll turn it into a program that you all can use repeatedly.
Okay.
Good stuff. All right, guys. Any other questions? All right. So today we're going to talk about using personas to build relationships and boost revenue. And this is what what I based this presentation on is actually what I used to do all of my marketing training on. And the only thing I used to actually get hired for, I didn't run companies when I first started my career. I did persona development for people. And it's really about like 4 styles of communication. What I found after doing it for years is like, it's not really about the personas. So we're not really talking about who's your ideal target market. We're talking about today, anything within your ideal target market. There's 4 different communication styles that people tend to fall into the category of 4. Now, how many of you know like what Myers-Briggs is, or DISC, or Colby? How many of you know your Myers-Briggs? A few, sort of. Okay, their letter is Myers-Briggs. So for those of you who don't know what Colby or Myers-Briggs or DISC, those are the 3 big ones that come to my mind. Those are personality temperament type tools that are used in psychology to help put us into buckets of, maybe how we see the world, what we're likely to do. I know Colby is a lot about what we will do, just left to our own devices. This is what we will do, how we will behave in a situation. This is based on Myers-Briggs. Everything I'm about to tell you is primarily based on Myers-Briggs. And Myers-Briggs is what is our preferences as humans. And some of us, which this is my preference, don't even believe in the bucket system. Like they're like, no, you cannot temperament type people. And it drives me nuts when I can predict stuff about people when I know their letters. I'm like, it shows that we're not all as unique as we'd like to think we are. So anyway, just know. See you later, Teresa. Nice to see you. So today, everything, like most of what I'm about to share with you, is based on Myers-Briggs. And the cool thing about Myers-Briggs when it comes to communication is it's all based on preference. So just like we all have a left and a right hand, we usually have a dominant hand that we would prefer to do fine motor tasks with, we prefer to write with, we prefer to use on, a more heavy basis. It doesn't mean we can't use the other side. It just means it's what we prefer. So in communication, whether this be in like early marketing or you're coaching or just generally building a relationship with someone, if you give them the information in the way they prefer to have it, it just reduces resistance. And it makes it more effortless and more simple for them to absorb whatever it is that you're asking them to take in. And so as we go through this today, keep in mind, I'm not putting everybody into great big giant buckets. And I'm not saying that, if you're a big idea person, you don't also need nuts and bolts. I'm just saying that this is really about preferences and how can you speed up trust with people, speed up communication with people. And then also knowing what your own preferences are helps you think about where you might not naturally meet other people's needs. And so as we go through stuff, like I'm a big idea person, but I'm quite deliberate in how I do things. And sometimes I don't think all the nuts and bolts through. And so sometimes once I get to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm done with this, I remember the nuts and bolts people need a lot more detail than I do to make a decision. So then I'm like, what would those details be? And I put, fill in the blanks. I use this with my children. Also, I've always used it for parenting, that my son is really like emotional and connected. So I know he needs to see the why and feel like he's all connected to things. And my daughter, on the other hand, she needs to see what's in it for her and how's it going to happen. And that's it. Like it's not that she's not emotional and connected. It's just not what makes her drive to making a decision. So a lot of what I'll show you today is about what helps people come to the point where they can make a decision, which is important when you're talking about marketing. It's important even when you're influencing people in the coaching situation. How do you give it what's in it for them? One other thing to keep in mind is that we all have access, like I said, we all have access to all of these preferences. And there's times where even in yourself, you'll notice you flip between one way of doing something versus another way, or one way of needing information versus another way. I know one thing I really notice is that we get a lot of opportunities brought to us, right? People are like, hey, I had an idea. Can I bring you the idea? My time is so limited when I have to vet these ideas that I go into what I'm going to share with you is the big idea person, where I just think like, okay, just tell me what you want from me, what's in it for us, what's in it for you, and how you see it working. Like, get to the point, So everybody flips a little bit between how they are. So the 4 presentation needs I'll share. I'm going to flip through sharing my screen at times and then not sharing my screen at times, but there we go. The 4 primary personality temperament types, and their 4 needs, are the big idea, entertainment, nuts and bolts, and hope people. That's what I call them. It's the easiest way to remember them, in my opinion. And they fall into 4 different categories. The big idea people tend to be quick and logical. And so they'll make a quick decision and they need a logical justification for it. I can send you these slides too, Tim. You're welcome to take pictures if you want, but I also can send them to you. And so the big idea people need a quick and logical point. They like to see, and I'll go through this in a little bit more depth, but they really like to see what's in it for them. And you have to be logical. Don't say, like, they like concrete words, benefit driven. That's what the big idea people like. And just interesting stat, they're only about 9% of the population. So it's a pretty small number of people that fall into that category. And they tend to be like CEOs, A-type personalities, kind of impatient. They don't understand why they would have to slow down for people's emotions. That, I don't know if you are one or you might know one. I certainly know lots of people like that. I actually am very comfortable working with people like that. And actually, for that matter, I tend to date people like that also. Entertainment is the next people. They make up about 30% of the population. So they're like 29, 28. And they are quick and emotional. They are super focused on fun. They will make a fast, rapid decision. Interesting point about these people, they also like to procrastinate. So they're kind of this weird thing. They're your last minute decision makers. They like to leave their options open until the end, and then they'll make a quick decision. So we noticed that a lot of people want to enroll in the Wildfit Challenge on like the Friday, Saturday, Sunday before it starts. A lot of these people are your last minute decision maker entertainment types. And we just noticed that. We actually, in another temperament type, they call them quick starts. And so we always have this running joke about like, oh, plan for the quick starts. That they're going to procrastinate till the last minute, and then they're going to want in on anything you run. So some of you might be this, you might know somebody like this. My mother was this person. So things were always like really fast paced in my house growing up. They're still fast paced, and she still likes to leave her options open until the very last minute and then make a decision. So they're a quick decision maker, and they tend to be rather emotional. So what feels good, what's in the moment, that kind of thing. The nuts and bolts people are deliberate and logical. And the nuts and bolts people are your think through, take their time. They like all of the details. They like things put into bullet point lists. They really enjoy when they can see the full picture, but the way they see the full picture is by seeing all the details first. So they see and they think through all the variables. They're some of my favorite people to spend time with because they think about things I don't. And they ask me questions about, well, did you really think how this will work with that and how those two things connect? And, so they really think things through. They're about 40% of the population. So they're the biggest of all of these 4 types. They are the majority, even though they make up around 40% of the population. They tend to like sensory facts as well. And I'll go through this on a couple more in-depth slides later on, but they tend to really like the sensory parts and the facts of, like what can you see, what can you taste, what can you smell, what can you touch, what can you hear? They really can connect through those things. All right. And then last is the hope people. I can't see what question was just asked. Sorry, I see there's a question in the chat. I can't pull the chat up. I'll do that in a second. Last is the hope people. And they tend to be deliberate and emotional. So they're a little slower in how they make a decision, meaning that they're thinking through all of the how it's going to affect everybody because they're emotional. So like, how will this decision affect other people in my life? When they're making a decision about something like a Wild Fit Challenge, it's like, okay, I have a holiday coming up. How will my mom feel if I show up and I don't eat her fruitcake? Like they're thinking about everyone else and all of the connector pieces that come into a decision-making process, and they're quite emotional and connected about it. So those are the 4 basic buckets we can put people into. I'm not suggesting you use this for marriage counseling. I'm just saying that it's an easy way to communicate with people. So, and you know what? I'm going to just quickly go off for a sec and then see what the questions were. Oh, Pamela just said goodbye. She's got to catch the replay. All good. Okay. So let's talk about the big idea people for a little bit. Here are some books that attract them, to give you some examples. How many of you think you're big idea people? I'm probably about to go too slow if you think you're a big idea person, and I apologize right now. I will talk as fast as I can, but the big idea people tend to like big idea books. So here's some really great examples of them. Thinking Fast and Slow, it basically, like it gets to the point of what is it that is in that book, The Power of Habit. It tells them there's a benefit to them, there's a superpower to it. And it gets to the point of that they're going to learn in this book only the one thing, which is about habits. And then Quiet, which is a book about introverts and why the world can't stop thinking. Extroverts and introverts can both be big idea people. And so books that really get to the big idea, like Good to Great is another good example of a business book that's a big idea book. So is Blink, Malcolm Gladwell's book. Actually, all of Malcolm Gladwell's books are big idea books. Like Freakonomics is a good big idea book. Like something that says, hey, I have a new idea. Here's what it is, and here's the benefit for you. Those are some examples of big idea books. Communication with big idea people, and this comes in like your marketing communication, what you're putting out on social media, how you coach these people, everything you do with these people. This is how you could be with them. Number 1, be direct. And so I find, like I said, I personally communicate really well with big idea people because I think it takes me a long time to communicate with them. I think through all the things that I know, like all the little moving parts, and I know they don't want to see those little moving parts. They just want to see what's in it for them and the point. So distill it down and then just be direct, be fast-paced, and get to the point. Focus on benefits with them. So really focus on, like Wild Fit Challenge, it's more stamina, it's less sleep, huge for people like that because they tend to want to always kind of overperform. They're like your super A-type personalities. So focus really on benefits with anything, whether this is like Wild Fit or anything really, focus on the benefits for them and show them your facts. Now, here's one thing that's going to might frustrate you. They're not going to look at the facts. They just want to see that you know them. So they're happy if you show them like a list of facts and they kind of glance at it and they're like, great, see you later. Eric is not a big idea person by nature, but we both definitely have big idea. Like we put that hat on at times. And I know that when I take something to him, I'm like, hey, here you go. Here's all the facts. This is what I know. And then he glances at it and moves on. They want to know you know your research because they're incredibly competent and they really respect competence and they expect it from you as well. So all good. If you don't know something, it doesn't mean you have to know everything with people like this. Like if they ask you a coaching question, you don't know the answer, you say, great, no problem. I'll go find out for you. Let me come back. They will respect that. No problem. Be organized and show up prepared. So, show up a little bit early, be really organized with them. Don't waste their time. All that's about don't waste their time. Big idea people tend to be the most important thing they have is their time. And tell them what you can do for them. So get to the point, tell them what you can do for them. Provide options for them and also have a premium option. I really recommend as you think about your coaching practice, these are people that will pay you more to do one-on-one coaching. They will actually pay you more for a power session that's 10 minutes than they will to show up on the call that's an hour. And so you can charge them a premium for convenience and a premium for direct access and a premium for VIP. Everything that looks like red carpet, VIP, exclusive, first class, they tend to like to pay more for that because they understand the value of protecting their energy. They understand, they like experience. They like being treated with prestige. So a premium option for people like this, they are a smaller portion of the population, but the ones that that will be like this are people who are CEOs, they're high-driven like financial planners, stockbrokers, people that are super fast-paced and have to take a lot of details in and then make lots of decisions. Anything that'll save them time, they're happy to do that and show them what's in it for them first. Skip the story with these people. So, how you like to be like, oh, Mary, her mom doesn't have cancer anymore, and this is how WildFit like this, and this is how WildFit did this for them. Don't do that. Skip the stories. They just want the results. Show them the before and after pictures. Tell them how long it's going to take them. Tell them what's in it for them. That's it. If you get too far, now I'm going to give conflicting information because other people like the stories. These people don't. So it really does. It's just so interesting how different people need different types of communication. So characteristics of these people are they tend to be a little bit controlling, competitive, daring, enthusiastic. They're risk takers. They're independent. They're witty. They're the ones that are always kind of a couple steps ahead of a group. They like a challenge. So the WildFit 90-day challenge is a really good thing for them. They like doing something that they have to overcome. They like being unique. They like possibilities. They really like achieving goals. They'll be the ones that will set really aggressive goals at the beginning of a challenge or when you're working with them. They like strategy. They're not really interested in the details like tactics. And they really don't like incompetence. That's why I said show up prepared. It's so important. These useful words are actual words you can use with them. So complexity, dominate, possibility, precision, solution, superior, winner, words that really show the real nature of like being number one or first class in what they do. They like meeting new people in their niche. They like being connected to other influential people. They like making partnerships with people in their niche. They like looking good to potential clients. So anything you can do, if it's something that you're looking at an early conversation with someone about something like the WildFit challenge, better performance, looking better in your suit, those kinds of things really appeal to them. And they like talking about, I put in there like talking sports with business acquaintances because they tend to be logical and quick. So they don't go into deep, like emotion. They're not going to tell you the childhood story, like deep emotional stuff. They're more likely to talk about concrete things that they can have fun talking about. They tend to avoid things like relatives who try to bum them out. They don't like wasting their time. They don't like getting burned or being taken advantage of. I don't think any of us like this, but these people take it a little more hardly. And they don't like any sense of feeling of control. So when you're doing the WildFit challenge with them, they'll be the ones that are looking for options, which is fine. You can meet their need for options within WildFit, right? Like put fruit in your Alka-Seltzer or don't, those kinds of things. They can totally make those decisions. So that is the big idea, people. Now, here's my question for you. I am back to the chat now. Pardon me. Who's got some ideas of ways you can communicate with the big idea people? Just drop them in the chat right now. What are some of the best ways that you think you can communicate with them after I share that? Did you have any like ahas with people that you know that are these big idea people? The chat's not blowing up yet. Are you all typing? There we go. Short emails, get to the point, be on time, start on time, end on time. Actually, Tim, short emails is a really good thing. I have a girlfriend that's one of these, and she, no kidding, when she sends an email, if she needs your address, she doesn't, there's no hi, how are you, how is Christmas, none of that baloney. She's just like, I need your address. Can you send it to me? That's it. And I know when I need something from her, that's how I communicate back is like, I need you to send me blah, blah, blah. Like they just get to the point. Short emails go really, really well with them. Visual bullet points. Yeah. And very, very good. And lots of bullet points, arrange them well, think it through, rearrange your bullet points for them. Yeah. And schedule a brief call, 10 minutes, like Catherine said, and get to the point as fast as possible. Oh, here's another trick. This is with all people, but especially these people, just talk about them. Don't talk about you. What is one thing you can do to take action when working with these people? Did anyone have any like, oh, yep, I know people like this and here's where I can do something different? Yeah, prearranged meeting or call, very true, Tim. Text message works well for people like this too, because they can read it at their leisure and it gets to the point and it's the most efficient use of time. So good stuff. That is our big idea, people. This is something that's worth, when you're coaching also, think through if they start showing up in ways where they seem impatient, or pay attention to the types of questions that they're asking, then can you reorganize your coaching so that you put like the benefits right at the beginning of the call and then give them permission to get off the call if they want. And yeah, Richard, if you're current job management chain, are they your superiors or you are the big idea person? Yeah, it's, they tend, like I said, I love working with them, but they can be a little bit impatient at times. Pooling says, I have an opportunity to speak to an influencer and a big idea person, but the 90-day challenge price tag scared him off a bit. So how can we convince a big idea person to join the Wildfit Challenge? He was using the excuse that his budget is used for other expenses. Do you know what you can say to him, Pooling, is can he afford not to? What's his health worth? How much is he worth per hour? And what does it cost him if he gets sick for a couple of weeks? And so that's something that will convert those people. Can you really afford not to? And frequently, that's something that will change them. And, and say, if you're concerned about the time, I'm happy to do one-on-one calls with you. So if he is using money as his excuse, that's one thing I would just say, really, can you afford not to? That doesn't work with everyone. It works really well with those people. All right, let's move on to the entertainment people. These guys, by the way, you always want one at your party. They're loads of fun. And they tend to come up high energy. My mom always asks me, if I say, hey mom, do you want to do, and then insert, do you want to go to Mexico? She's like, who's going to be there? How much fun will it be? What are we going to get to do? She's all about the let's have fun. So these are some entertainment books. They're also personal development books. They're just very, very different titles. So Furiously Happy, a funny book about horrible things. They don't really want to talk about horrible things, so they're happy to do it in a funny way. Wild at Heart, Discovering the Secret of a Man's Soul. It's all about adventure, and it speaks to adventure right there in the title. The Boys in the Boat, 9 Americans in their epic quest for gold at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. So they like things that are epic, fun, adventure-based. They tend to be your big idea people, or pardon me, your entertainment people, like sensory facts. So anything they can see, smell, taste, hear, touch. And a lot of us that are attracted to WildFit or attracted to coaching are not necessarily concrete thinkers. I know I'm not. So very often when I'm working with people that are entertainment people, I have to remind myself to speak in a language that to speak in words that they understand. And that is, what does it smell like? This is great for coaching when they're talking early on in the, why they like something, what does your tea smell like? What does it feel like when you touch it? What are you hearing in the background? They like things that are very tactile based in the moment. They tend to be very in the moment and not always living in the past or the future, which is a nice thing. I love being around them. They're creative, they're entertaining. They are, often they're really gregarious, even with the way that they dress or the colors they use. We have a running joke. Both my mom and my sister are like this. And everything they own is covered in glitter and sparkles, which isn't my type, but I always know if there's something sparkly, my mom will like it. So they tend to be flashy. They're fast paced, they're friendly, they're really personable. They're also impatient, just like other people, because they're the quick decision makers. And they're really sensitive. They tend to appear undisciplined. That's could be a somewhat negative characteristic, but often it's just because they like to have fun. So they want to know how you can relieve their pain and give them pleasure right now. I put that in there because it's one of those things that's if you can think about with these people, how can you relieve their pain and give them pleasure? So how quickly will they lose weight? How quickly will their inflammation go down? How fast can they start? If you see them on a Tuesday and they can't start till Monday, they might be a little bit annoyed because they have to wait a few days, but they really are looking for a quick relief of pain or giving them pleasure right now. They like action, quick challenges. They like the experience. They like for you to say to them, look, we're going to create a community for 90 days. You're going to go through this with a group of people. You'll make friends all over the world you maybe haven't met before. Or you'll make friends that you haven't met in a city before. They like the personal touch. They're not big into conflict. They don't care for the details. The big idea people will look at your details. These people won't even look at your details. They want to see the pictures, the before and afters, the fun stuff. They don't even really look at the details. And sometimes they'll get into it. Sometimes they'll get into something and then be like, I didn't realize this is what I was getting into. And even if you gave them the details, they just weren't paying attention. My mom once, I love her. She got into the car, I was a kid, and we had been out doing something. She gets into the car and she brings me a corn dog. And we didn't eat a lot of processed food when I was a kid. So I think it was probably the first corn dog I'd ever eaten. It was the first corn dog she'd ever eaten, but we were at this little grocery store or a little convenience store, and she was hungry. So all there was to eat, there was like deep fried chicken fingers or corn dogs. So she asked the guy, what is that? And he said, well, it's a chicken wiener wrapped in cornmeal or cornbread, and it's called a corn dog. And she's like, all right, how do you eat them? And he said, well, you warm them up, and then I really like mine with mustard. And she's like, all right, very well. So she grabs 2 of them, puts mustard on them. He warms them up. She brings them in the car. She gives me one. We start driving down the road. We'd been getting gas. We start driving down the road, and she took a bite out of it and right away went, oh, there's a wiener in here. And I said, yeah, what did you expect? And she said, I don't know. I thought it was something sweet. And then we drove for maybe like another 30 seconds or so. And she said, it's a chicken wiener. And I looked at her and I said, how did you know it was a chicken wiener? Like, you don't know the difference between a beef and a chicken wiener. And if you didn't even know it was a wiener, how did you know it was a chicken wiener? And she said, he told me back at the store. That's why I put mustard on it. But she didn't pay attention to the details. That's why she was expecting something sweet. Like, they just don't sometimes. So now when she doesn't pay attention to details, I look at her, I'm like, chicken wiener? And we still laugh about it. Use words that are clever, exciting, flexible, fun, in the moment, new, playful. When, well, you know, like they're going to want to know, well, if it's the new sexy diet. They probably have been on every other diet you could possibly imagine. They've bought every book. You know, if something came out on Oprah, they were reading it. They're always ahead of the trends. That's another thing. They're always a bit ahead of the trends. So they're fun people to motivate really early on. They like quick fixes. So we all know WildFit's not a quick fix program, right? But they like quick fixes and they need them. They make up 30% of the population. WildFit fixes a few things kind of quickly. I'm like 90 days turning around some health challenges. That is technically kind of a quick fix. So it's okay to use that language with them. They like meeting new people and they like excitement and adrenaline. They're happy if you talk fast. It's okay to do all of that. Avoid long explanations. If you start to notice someone kind of like checks out when you use a long explanation, don't do it. And then you're probably talking to either a big idea person or an entertainment person. They don't like being bored. So that's why Eric tells jokes and that's why we tell stories, is because they don't like being bored. It's a lot for these kinds of people. And they don't like too much commitment. So, you know, if the coaching calls tend to be a bit of a barrier for them, just, again, they're really great people to do one-on-ones on. Tell them they can be on half the calls and they'll still get the benefit. They can get the information through Facebook. They can watch the recordings on double speed. Those are the kinds of things they like. And they really enjoy the moment. They're all about excitement. They're very fast paced and they really like the fast paced part. They like to feel their immediate needs, to feel enjoyment and see a quick result. So it's a good way to just keep in mind that some things with entertainment people. So my question is, after hearing all of that, do any of you have any insights on how you can communicate with entertainment people a little differently than with big idea people? Yeah, Laura, video, stories, animated conversation. They do like videos. Get excited and show them your enthusiasm. I don't think you can be overly excited for these people. Like, you can be as excited as you possibly know how to be in animated, and it does get to them. Face-to-face, video, Facebook Lives, quotes. That's another thing they really like, or quotes, like something they can just see. I know with social media, like, show them your before and after picture stories. Yeah, use all of those that you see in groups, and the ones that we have provided, use those. And they're good with compilations too. So if you're doing an Instagram or a Facebook post, you can say see 3 to 3, 4, 5 before and afters. You don't have to just show them one. They're happy to see multiples. They really think those things through. Like, they like the speed. So that's a really good thing with them. What is one thing you can do to take action working with these people differently than you are now? Or maybe you're already doing something. What's one thing you do, like, as a hack to take action with these people? One thing I do when working with these people is I ask them a question up front that gets them talking about something I know they will be excited about. So when you're coaching these people, pay attention. You know, if they're going on a holiday, make sure on the next coaching call you talk to them about going on their, like, how was your holiday? What was great about it? What's the one thing you had the most fun? Ask them one thing type questions, because they'll tell you what was the most fun for them. And you really get to know them well. One thing I love about the entertainment people is it's easy to feel like you know them well because they're willing to share and give them that engagement. Tim, yeah, give them engagement surveys. They're not as likely to fill out a survey because it takes too much time. So your survey with them is verbal in the moment while you're on the phone with them, while you're coaching with them, while you're on the phone with them. You can take that as your testimonial. And actually, they're often the most free with their sharing. So if they give you a great testimonial while you're on a call with them in week 12, just say to them, do you mind if I use that as a testimonial? And they'll say yes. You now have permission. You've got the recording of exactly what they said. Go back in the recording, type it out, use it. Because they're not likely to give it to you after. Get something from them in the moment. And one other really great thing about these people, they are your most likely people to share upfront. When they're excited about something, they'll share it. And so I know my mom is someone, like, she'll start a new program, a new diet, a new network marketing company, whatever it is, she starts it and she'll share it within 3 days. Like, she's always excited about something new. I don't know how many of you know people like this, but they're like always excited about something new. So the best way to utilize those people when you're working with them and get, you know, the most out of that is ask them early on for referrals, for sharing, for connecting you with other people. Like, ask for that right up front from them. They're comfortable with it. So there you go. They're always make things a lot of fun. Next, let's talk about the hope people. Here's some books that connect the hope people. So remember, these are the deliberate emotional people. Brene Brown is a really good hope writer. Every book, you know, Daring Greatly, Dare to Lead, a lot of her writing, her titles are very big idea, but her actual writing is very hope driven. So it's all deliberate, thought through, very emotional, high EQs. So she's a good author if you listen, if you want to kind of get to know how hope people think. I would suspect a whole number of you are probably hope people a little bit. That tends to be what coaching attracts. How to stop worrying and start living. You know, there's lots of quotes about like overthinking. Those are often driven at the hope people. We think about everyone else's emotions and what are they doing. This is what my temperament type is. And the purpose driven life, they're really, really, really driven by purpose. So if you've got a hope person sitting on the fence with WildFit and you need some like sentences or some phrases to get them around, like to answer Pooling's question, if she was asking about a hope person, ask them, what's it going to cost them if they don't? And what's the likeliness that their health is currently getting in the way of their purpose, or in the way of them living their best life, or in the way of them being as good as they can be for their kids or their spouse or their grandkids or whatever you know matters in their life. So these are some examples of hope books. When you connect with them and communicate with them, it's okay to slow down a little bit, be more personal, be more connected. They don't even mind what feels like long, awkward pauses, because they tend to be more deliberate in how they take in information, and they really want you to be connected. Tell really authentic stories with them and be just, you know, who you are. Meet their pace and cadence. They're the most sensitive to sort of meeting their pace. So if they're in a mood that day that's a little bit more fast paced, match them and be more fast paced, speak a little faster. If they're in a mood that's a little slower, then match them and be a little bit slower. It's a really good way to build rapport with them. Focus on the whole benefit. And what I mean by that is talk about not only the benefit for them, but how it'll affect their family, their work environment, their future, how they're able to, you want to talk about the benefit for them and everyone around them. Let them know how it'll feel working with you. And so that really means, like, tell them, you know, you'll be able to connect with me whenever you want. Here's what the Facebook group is. You're really giving them the same details, but tell them how it will feel and how it will support them. They want to know about you and your story. One of the most important things, and this is really interesting, there's been a lot of data on this, on a website, the first page that hope people tend to visit is the About Us page. So before they want to know like what you can do for them, they want to know who you are. So I highly recommend, in whether it be social media or on a website, or even just if you're doing a presentation, these people need you to tell your story. You know, have you been married, divorced, children? What were your parents like? Where'd you grow up? Have you moved countries? They want to know your story. They don't necessarily need like the long 3-hour version of it, but they do want to know your story, and they want you to be more open with them that way. Support their feelings. They tend to talk in a lot of feeling words. So support those feelings. So like, I feel frustrated. They're the ones that are most in touch with their feelings. So support their feelings and show them stories of success. So they're happy to see stories of, like, they not only will look at the picture from the before and afters, they'll read the story of why somebody did it. So that's why we write stories when we write before and afters and success stories. And then connect through examples of helping people. They love the stories about other people who have been helped, like Numi's client who is out of remission with cancer, in remission with her cancer. Those kinds of things. They like to connect through those stories of helping people. They are also very creative. They like to lead and mentor. They're very open. They tend to be quite open and transparent. They're a little bit slower, often show up as easygoing. They're teacher types. They're warm and friendly. I know chiropractic attracts a lot of these people. They're people who genuinely want to help. Nursing attracts a lot of these people. They do like the big picture, so they like to see the benefit and where something's going in the big picture. They're very generous and giving. They like harmony. They like recognition. They also are not big into the details, like the nuts and bolts people that we're going to talk about later. And they don't really like the super fast pace. So if you show up on a coaching call and you put your fast paced stuff a little bit at the beginning, that's great. You can then slow it down as the call goes on. And you can give the fast paced people permission to leave. And then the hope people will stick around a little bit longer. They really use words they like are caring, commonality, helping others, personal relationships, sympathetic feelings. They like being unique. They do. These are the ones, remember I said like some of us don't think you should be put into boxes ever. These people think everyone's so unique and all their feelings are unique, so you shouldn't put them into boxes. They like meeting new people. They'll like the community of WildFit. Eric and I both are actually hope people. Our nature is this. And so that's part of, even when Eric puts a program together, I see how he thinks about how it will affect all of the participants, how we can give people community, how important that community around the world is, and how it's nice to connect with our people, giving people a leg up when they need help. So they like the fact that WildFit helps as many people as it does. They like jokes and fun, and they like learning new techniques for helping people. They do everything in their power to avoid hurting people's feelings, which sometimes can almost get in the way because they tend to not just get to the point, like the big idea people. I had a conversation with someone last night, and I was talking about something, and he finally said to me, "Why don't you just get to the point with this person?" And I'm like, "Well, because I don't want to hurt her feelings." And he's like, "Well, just, you're hurting her feeling. You're hurting her success by not just telling her the facts as they are." So that's a big idea person. The hope people are very different. They like to be connected. They like relating. They're into personal relationships, and they like the feeling of togetherness. So WildFit's very much an easy program to connect with people that are hope people, because it was developed by Eric, who is one, but also it's a lot about community and building that. So does anyone have any ideas of how you can communicate with them differently than the other two? Oh, percentage of the population that is this group, 20. Yeah, give or take 20, like 21, 22, somewhere in there. And I have a theory, this is completely an Andrea theory, so I'm not professing this comes from anything, but I read years ago that about 20% of the population is born with empathy naturally, and the other 80% learns it. I'm of the belief that these people are probably the ones that are born with empathy, and the other 80% of us learn it. My son falls into this category. I can, like, from the time he was really little, for those of you who have kids, you might have one of these where it's just like it's like he understood everybody. Like, he had empathy. He didn't do things that hurt other people's feelings. Like, he would just think that stuff. He just naturally was like that. My daughter, on the other hand, she's more like a big idea 2x4 person. Like, she had to get something across and you didn't listen the first time she said it, she'd plow you with her ideas. I was tucking her in one night, and she's like, and she was like having this hard time breathing, and I could feel her anxiety. And I said, "Honey, what's wrong?" She was about maybe 6. I said, "Honey, what's going on? Like, how was your day today? What's up?" And she goes, "Oh, Annika, she's driving me crazy." And I said, "Oh, how come she's driving you crazy?" And she said, "Because she won't do what I tell her to." I started laughing, and I'm like, "Well, Milena, we should probably talk about that, because lots of people have their own opinions, and they're not just going to do what you tell them to because you tell them to." It created a lot of anxiety for her. So kids kind of naturally have, they fall into anything. Anybody ideas of how you can communicate with the hope people? Stories. Yeah, they like stories. They like the more detailed stories. And they like stories of how it affects them. So like, so if someone's child loses weight or their family works together and changes with WildFit, they really like the longer story of like the impact WildFit will have on them. Whereas the big idea, or the hope, the entertainment people, they're really happy with just show me the bullet points. These people really like the emotional connection in the story. Catherine, did I see your hand up or was I hallucinating? No, you're good. Okay. All right. Next are the nuts and bolts people. These are our detail people. They make up about 40% of the population. They really like numbers and bullet points. Here's some really good examples of books that attract and appeal to them. And these are all some books that have been on the bestsellers list forever, like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There are 7 habits. They're always in the same order. They give examples. This is one of the best written books, in my opinion, ever. But one of the things he does great in there is he tells them what he's going to tell them. He then tells them what he's going to tell them, and then he tells them what he told them. And so it's very well organized, very well thought out. It's 7 habits. They're always in the same order. There's habits 1 through 7. It's a really, really good nuts and bolts book. The 5 Love Languages is another great nuts and bolts book. These books are actually written really well for all of the 4 temperament types, but they're especially good for the nuts and bolts people. The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. I just saw John Maxwell speak. If you ever have the chance to see that man live, go. He is so good. He's funny. He's engaging. I mean, he is like a true master professional. If you get a chance and he's in your city, go see him. But he's a really good nuts and bolts teacher also. He makes his point. He gives his examples. He sticks to his point. This is what nuts and bolts people really like. Interesting note about nuts and bolts people. They like, hang on, I just have to go back on my slides. Nuts and bolts people really like to see what is going to be. So on our website, not all of you are here for this, but when we were redoing the sales page for WildFit and we put in there an overview of the 12 weeks, there were some people that were like, oh, please don't do that. We did that for the nuts and bolts people, and sure enough, it answered a lot of questions. It decreased a lot of questions. They want to see, like, what am I going to get in my 12 weeks? What is it? How much numbers, how many coaching calls are there? How long is each coaching call? How many different things am I going to need to buy? So we are really building WildFit a lot more for nuts and bolts people, meaning like more recipes, more examples, more how-to shopping lists. Like they like everything to be detail-oriented and cleared. Give them organized, stacked information. So when you do this, then give it in a sequential format. Some of the other people you can kind of bounce around with your logic. These people you have to give it to them in an organized, stacked format. Focus on facts, stats, and numbers. So when you're putting out things for social media, whether it's like early level social media stuff, give them facts and stats. What percentage of the population has diabetes? What percentage of the population is obese? What percentage of the population suffers from insomnia? They like those sorts of things. It really works well for them. Let them know the steps of working with you. So what this means is tell them step 1 is decide if you want to do which 90-day challenge you'd like to start with. Step 2 is pay this invoice. Step 3 is show up on this call. Step 4 is do what I tell you to do each week. Like they like those steps, and sometimes they like the very pointed pay this invoice step. Like when they're like, okay, I'm ready to get started. What do I do? Great. When would you like to get started? And how would you like to pay? Visa, MasterCard, or PayPal? So give them those steps of working with you. Tell them what they'll get. That's why on the sales page for WildFit 90, there is the 12 weeks and what's in each one, and show them the value. Compare value for something they have context for. I'm going to show you this in a minute, but compare the value to something they have context for and connect to them through examples of helping people. They are analytical. They tend to be more conservative than grounded. They have a lot of inner standards, and that's why if you know 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and anyone who lives that way, they're very values and inner standards based. They're methodical in how they do things. They're very disciplined. They like facts, data, hard evidence, organization. They don't dislike the human touch. They just don't put as much value on it. Like they like to have the facts and the data, and then the human touch comes after often. They use logical words. They like the plan. They like the process. It is one thing with these people, the WildFit 90-day process and the fact that so many people have gone through the same 90-day sequence is a big selling feature for them. They like to be responsible. They often will do what they say they're going to do, and they like predictability and security. They embrace the logical in the process. So when you say there's a 90-day sequence, and it was put in place to help not only change our relationship to food, but our behaviors around food and get us healthy. They like to hear those sorts of things. They are not hindered by the strong emotions won't sway them. What will sway them is the facts and the stats. So what will help them make a decision, a buying decision, or a decision to stop eating cheese, or a decision to stop drinking coffee, will be the facts behind it. They like certainty and they're clear thinking. They avoid confrontation. They don't like making mistakes. So they will do lots of things to not make mistakes. And a lot of times in a 90-day challenge, they'll struggle because they think they've been doing the things that are right for their health because that's what they believe to be true. And we're about to tell them that a lot of things are, dairy's not actually good for you. Things like that sometimes can be a little bit jarring for them. And they're very responsible. They like order. They like self-discipline. They like things to be complete. They like finishing things. I have a lot of these people on our team, and they get a lot of joy from finishing. Now, I get a lot of joy from starting. I like starting something new. There's about 3 of us that love starting something new, and that's where I get joy from. The rest of my team gets joy from finishing. They like to be done with something. They like, hey, I'm done, and boom, off it goes. I get bored. So I like to start, but it's really important to know these are different. Like, your nuts and bolts people like the completion of the 90-day challenge. Like, they are as energized at the end as they were. They're not all that energized at the beginning. They see it as a 90-day trek, whereas your starters like it at the beginning. So some things to keep in mind when dealing with the different temperament types. Anybody have questions or anything about like how you can communicate different with the nuts and bolts people? Yeah, pooling. I love the 7 Habits book. I really like nuts and bolts style writing, and I think that it's always the best thought through. Another really good nuts and bolts teacher is Robin Sharma. He's got this book called The 5 a.m. Club. That's his new book, and it's really well thought out. And he talks through all the details of how to get up, like what the benefit of getting up at 5 a.m. is. So any ideas on how to communicate with these people and ways to connect with them? I will say on your social media and anything you're doing up front, lots of facts and stats and data goes a long way with them, and showing them the state of health and then how we can help it really helps. Yeah, longer emails, more data, more information. Infographics, very true, Tim. Infographics are great for them. Longer emails are fine. Getting down to bullet points. Also, putting your call to action further down for these people is okay. So like some need it really, really quickly, but you can actually put this far further down for them. Okay, I'm going to show you one fun little slide I've got, which is how do these people buy eggs? So the 4 different temperament types and how do they buy eggs, because it demonstrates how they think differently. So your quick and logical people buy the plus eggs that are, if you eat this, it will give you some superhuman power. The entertainment, quick and emotional people pretty much pick up breakfast at McDonald's. They struggle with not having, they don't plan that far in advance. So it's like, what's my egg McMuffin, the quickest way? The hope people will do like the cage-free, organic, grade A, the nicest eggs. They'll pay more for that, even though really they're all eggs, right, in the same container. And the deliberate and logical people will do what makes the most sense, which is buy one, get one free. Like they'll do things on sale. Your deliberate logical people will join the 2 weeks because it makes the most sense. Like that's what they're looking, well, let's start there and then I'll take the next step after that. So your spontaneous people, the entertainment people, will also join the 2 weeks, but only because it's only 2 weeks and it's quick. So that's how they buy eggs. It's one of the a way to keep in mind, like, what kind of eggs am I selling right now? Oh, it's the eggs plus. Okay, great. They pay more for those eggs. They have more. Is it possible to put more omega in those eggs? I don't even know if that's possible, but that's how we sell it, right? It is possible, Catherine? Is it what they feed the chickens? Probably, right? Yeah. So it is, but it is a really good example of how to communicate with those 4 types of people. So good stuff. Does anyone have any questions? Do I have the Myers-Briggs types for each of these categories? I do. I'd have to send it to you in a chart, Tim, but I can give you the big idea people are the intuitive thinkers. So it's each of them has 4 of the Myers-Briggs temperament types. I'll find a chart that I have and send it to you, but it's the intuitive thinkers. So it's the INTPs, INTJs, ENTPs, and ENTJs. That's who the big idea people are. The entertainment people are the SPs, so the sensory and perceiving. So it's the ESFPs, ESTPs, ISFPs, and ISTPs. So spontaneous is another word for them. So that the sensory perceiving type. The hope people are the intuitive feelers. So they're the INFJs, INFPs, ENFJs, and ENFPs. And the nuts and bolts people, or the methodical people, are the sensory judging types. So they're the SJs, so the ISTJs, ESTJ, ESFJ, and ISFJ. So I can send it to you in a chart. I have it somewhere. I actually had to rebuild a bunch of this because I have charts and couldn't find them yesterday while I was working on this for you. So I got a little surprised because Nicole said, oh, I need the slide deck. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Hang on, I'll pull it up from somewhere. And I ended up having to rebuild it because I couldn't find the other one. I'll show you guys another thing I'll send you. This is a really good cheat sheet. I'm going to rebrand it for WildFit, but I can send this one to you. This shows you what the big idea people need in sort of like a cheat sheet infographic. So what are you selling and how do you sell it, and organizes it all. I'll just drop this in for you guys and you can do that. I'm going to redesign it for WildFit color. Well, actually probably doesn't even need it. It's a chart I did a long time ago about what people are looking for and kind of how you're selling it, and a good cheat sheet for working with them. In fact, as we speak, I'm going to drop this into the Facebook coaching group so I don't forget when I get off this call and someone asks me a question. So you guys are talking about the 5 a.m. club. I agree. You need sleep. I know Robin Sharma gets up. He goes to bed really early too. He goes to bed at like 9 o'clock. I do get up at 5:30. I'm not quite a 5. I get at 5:33. I just moved my clock back to 5:27. So I'm going to move it slowly back a little bit. But I do agree you really need your sleep. So keeping in mind that your sleep is important. Does anyone have any questions about communication, anything I shared, and or any ways you can use it? Or we've got a few minutes, so I actually can help with anything right now if you'd like. No questions?
Andrea, I don't have any questions, but just a comment. This was great. I love this kind of stuff. I love all personality information and kind of knowing what makes people tick and then how to interact with them. So this was really interesting. It was fun too.
Thank you. Good, good. I'm glad. I'll tell you one trick, Laura, with this is, I know a lot of you are like, as you start and you've got to build like social media followings or marketing, and that can feel a bit overwhelming. That's something I hear from people often. I'll send you this chart. I'll put it in the Facebook group right now. Just pick one of the 4 types and then write as though you're writing to one person that you know that's like that. So who do you know that's a nuts and bolts person, and what would you say just to them, and then write that or post that or give that factor stat and give that to them. And it helps, and rotate through all 4. So don't just focus on one type, but rotate through all 4. And that way you're appealing to all the different temperament types in your overall communication. So, and if you get stuck, this chart is really helpful because it'll show you, I'm going to go a big idea and give them a case study. Well, what does the big idea person want to know about the case study? They just want to know one thing. So JB lost 20 pounds while she was on the road and she hasn't gained it back in 3 years. They just want to know like the absolute benefits of it. Whereas the nuts and bolts person would want to know more about that story. Yeah, go for it, Tim.
How do you mix that together? Presuming that you don't want to send out 4 different types of communication each time. How do you blend them together? So
if you look at this chart, that's a very good question. When you look at this chart, I put it together in such a way that that's the order in which you would want to address people. So tell them the big idea first, make it fun and entertaining, give them a little bit of the story, and then get to the bullet points. So if you were writing a longer post, do it in that order. What's the big idea of what you're going to do? This is how it's fun in 1 or 2 sentences. This is how you connect through story, and then here's your bullet points, nuts and bolts.
And do people generally fall into one of the categories, or are they a mix of categories?
So the theory is that most people fall into one of the categories predominantly. And what my experience is working with people that are the hope people tend to be a little bit like cookie dough, and they could go into like any shape. So if you think about cookie dough and you're making cookies, the big idea people, the entertainment people, and the nuts and bolts people are like cookie cutters. They're circles, they're stars, they're squares. They stay that way. The hope people tend to be a little bit like cookie dough, like they're a little more adaptable and can go into all four. Because it's based on preference, we all have a natural preference that we go back to. Think about the left-handed, right-handed thing. Like we all have our more dominant, more comfortable thing, that our more comfortable side. So this is really about comfort and preference. The reason it's helpful in communication is because it feels connected. You naturally, like all of you as humans, naturally use a lot of what I said anyway. You probably don't even realize that at times where you alter your communication to connect with someone better because you know that's how they communicate. So this is just putting words to what you do intuitively for many people. Now, not everyone does it intuitively, so this is a good tool when you don't do it intuitively, but this is a way to do it intentionally in your coaching. So yeah, they do say, like Myers-Briggs says, most people fall into one category. And if they test over time, like they've actually got a lot of data, and over time, if people answer the questions accurately, they do always fall into the same category. Stress affects it a little bit. And online, everybody's a little bit more cautious and into details.
Yeah.
So all good. Numi, is it here we should have like a purchase button in each section? Yeah, for a lot of people, like you want to think about, oh, my quick decision people need a purchase button higher up in a post or on a page, and my nuts and bolts people could go lower down. So that's often why there's two in places. Yeah, one to get the quick people off, and then one further down for the detail people. It's, you know, a lot of quick people, if you are a detail person, you are very accustomed to scrolling to the bottom of a page. Quick people don't do that. And a lot of quick people will look at the top of the page. If you don't tell them the price, they scroll all the way to the bottom until they find the price, and then they make a decision, you know, like it's what happens. Yeah, there you go. See, it's like, oh, you didn't tell me that up front, so what do I need later? Yeah, Mindvalley does that they make everyone scroll right to the bottom of the page. That's a bit of their philosophy with marketing. So that's something that they do. They've likely tested one way or the other. I actually know a lot about Mindvalley's audience and how they do that. Catherine has a question about back to spring. Why don't we wrap this up? If anyone wants to stay on and talk about back to spring for a few minutes, that's good. Give me 1 second because I'll take your question, Catherine, but let me drop that chart into the Facebook group before I get off the call. And we are done for the day officially. I just need to drop this in. Catherine, I'm happy to stay on with you and answer your question about back to spring. How do I add files to this group? Here we go. I'll drop it in the files section.
So my question isn't necessarily something that's gonna pertain to everybody. So if you guys are hanging around because you think it's gonna be super interesting, we just drop off. but if you want, it's just a personal thing. Okay. Maybe when you're ready, Andrea.
Yeah, you bet. There you go, guys. It's in the Facebook group, that cheat sheet that I was just showing you. And I can get you the slides also. They need a few edits, I noticed, but I can get you the slides. So, good stuff. Thanks, guys, very much. I'll see you next month.
All right. So anyway, my question was, so after Wildfest, you know, they had that drawing. And so I won the Back to Spring program as part of that. And then just the timing of when it was coming out, I had so much going on at the same time, and I did spring with my challenge group in the fall. So I was feeling like, well, no, my body doesn't need spring right now, so I didn't sign up for this group. But now I'm wondering if I should have signed up, just so I'm going through it with everybody and giving feedback and input into developing it, since I'm a coach, and maybe recommending it for my people. So I'm wondering, should I have jumped in, and is it too late to drop me into it, or should
I don't, it's not too late to drop you into it, because, you know, if you were, well, yeah, I actually had someone ask me yesterday the same question, and probably today, like, you can drop in now, yes, and probably it would be good for you to go through, because it will be something that you'll be coaching your clients through also later on.
Okay, so you think it would be advisable to just go ahead and drop me in?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you just reach out to the help desk, they'll put you into it, and then they'll add you to the Facebook group, and you can see the recording from Monday.
Okay, so far there's only been one recording that I'm behind on.
As far as I know, it's just the one on Monday. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just look quick. Hang on. I can tell you for sure. I'm pretty sure that the syntax is, let me look.
Do I need to reach out to any particular person, or just the help desk in general?
There's another call tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Mountain. So just Monday, Friday. Just the help desk in general. Nicole will take care of you. Nicole or Angela, they're both there, and just mention that to them, what you said to me.
So that would be 8 a.m. my time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the call tomorrow morning.
Okay. All right.
So, good stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a really good rest of your month, and I will talk to you soon. It's good to see some new faces, Marianne. I'm not sure if we've been on the same call before or not. Maybe you haven't had your camera turned on. It's the first time I've seen your face.
I haven't been on a call.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome. It's nice to see you.
Thank you. I do have a very quick question.
Yeah,
You mentioned
sure.
we get commissions if people take Back to Spring or some of the other products. Is the same true if they join the Living Wild Fit group?
Yep, it is. If
They
they,
just have to register with the same email and we're automatically linked. Is that how that works?
if you gave us their information and put them in a class through us, then they're tagged to you, and then they do go through Living Wild Fit, and you get commissions on that.
Okay, so we don't have to do anything on our end then.
No, you don't.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Catch you later. Bye.
Bye.